you can never tell. The movie's gonna make me a big star.
Hi, welcome to Meet Me at the Movies. I am Noel T. Manning II. Really glad to have you along with us today. Got a lot to talk about. We've got another special guest, a new member of the North Carolina Film Critics Association, also a writer for Elements of Madness. And Lindsey Dunn is our guest, and she has her own website. She's going to talk about that. Thomas Manning, also, we can't get rid of him. He just keeps coming back for more and more and more. So good to see everybody. How are you guys today?
Ready to dive in, yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you have never seen this show before, what's wrong with you is my first thought. No, I appreciate you spending time with us, and you can do that several ways through C19 TV, just by watching the broadcast signal, or you can go to C19.TV and stream this and a lot of other shows, or you can go to WGWG.org and check out the radio version of this show and the podcast as well. Lindsey, we're really glad to have you. I've been following your work for a little while through Douglas Davidson's Elements of Madness site, and but you've been doing stuff way before that. Your day job is not doing movie reviews. You've got another day job as well. So Lindsey, your love of film, I'd like to hear a little bit about that. But first, tell us about your website where people can find you as well.
Okay, my website where you can find all my content is One of My Stories. That's one as in the number one of my stories.com. And my website blog has gone through several names, but I settled on that one because I feel like when the stories we hear really help to shape us, they can change our view of the world and how we see other people and how we interact. And so whether I'm talking about books or movies, the power of stories is really important to me because my day job is a librarian. So I like, it's just part of my brand is understanding stories, other people and myself through stories better. I have been writing about movies informally since 2007. Kind of started out like many people do, 1998, there was that top 100 movies AFI list came out, and I made sure to watch every single one of the ones I hadn't watched, and I moved on to like the top 100 movie quotes list for a while, and yeah, so just from there, it just generated, and I just fell in love with movies even more because I kind of grew up in a really conservative Christian household, and we were only able to watch certain things, and so my movies were like ones that I would watch all the time, but I hadn't viewed that widely. And you did mention maybe some favorite genres. Should I go ahead and touch on that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. Tell us some of your favorite genres.
Okay, well, I don't have necessarily favorite genres, but I have kind of more favorite types of stories. And so those would be childhood trauma, people who feel like outcasts or they are outcasts, bands of misfits, movies that wrestle with religious faith in a non-preachy way, complex relationships that are maybe dysfunctional, but they show how people really care for one another despite that dysfunctionality. And just some of the people I really am drawn to are Matthias Schoenaerts, director Drake Doremus, who did Like Crazy, Equals, Breathe In, and also I really love Panos Cosmatos, his horror Mandy and Beyond the Black Rainbow. Director Sean Baker and Derek Cianfrance, most notably for Place Beyond the Pines. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. So, yeah.
Awesome. And Thomas, I know that you've got a question as well, so go ahead and dive in, Thomas.
Yeah, so like how important is the theatrical experience for you, and are you able to find some appreciation in like streaming services and that kind of thing, or do you prefer being there in the theater? And like how, and if so, how has that impacted the way you felt about the film industry over the past few months with the pandemic?
Well, I love the theatrical experience. I am really, one of the things I like to do the best is go by myself to a movie theater where I can just be around other people that are loving this film but not have to converse with anybody, so I can kind of shut everybody out and just enjoy the story. And so the pandemic has been really hard for me. I don't have a TV at home, so I watch everything on my laptop. So I'm missing out on a lot of the sound and visual experience. And I also just think in general, movies were made to be viewed on a big screen. And so that's something that I really feel like a little bit of a grief and loss right now that I don't have it, but trying to do my best to keep going and enjoy what I can and still enjoy movies.
I think we're all feeling a bit of that, Lindsey, the missing that experience. And I've talked about this a little bit. And I've talked about this with Douglas Davidson a bit. And there are quite a few people who want to get back and who are ready to get back, but then there's just as many who are not quite ready because of the time we're in and not quite sure who's sitting in that seat in front of you. And there's a lot of that going on as well. So it's, it's a different and a challenging time. And I'm really wondering what Oscar season is going to look like this year, or award season in particular, all across the board. And I'm fortunate that we've got some film festivals and some other things we can engage in to see some new work. But I'm like you, I love the big screen. And I love the sound system that goes along with it. And we're all missing out, I think, on that. That's for sure. Thomas, you have any other questions, or are you ready to dive into some reviews?
I think we can get going through reviews. Yeah. All
right, great. Well, Lindsey Dunn, we're very happy to have you here with us today on Meet Me at the Movies. First film we're going to talk about and review, it's called System Crasher. I think I've got that right. Is that correct?
Yes. And in German, it's Systemsprenger. So I've been practicing that for a week now. Directed by Nora Fengscheid and starring a young Helena Zengel. It is on Netflix. It's a very emotionally intense, heart-wrenching German language film about Benny, a girl in the social care system who is identified as a system crasher because she's so out of control that nobody can keep her for long, that eventually she always gets turned in. Whether it's a home or a school, she's just kind of being passed around from person to person until they can't stand her anymore. And you see the different adults in her life that try to reach out to her and try to make an impact, and some of them get close. Most notably, there's a character named Misha that maybe kind of sees a little bit of himself in her, because in the past he's dealt with some anger management issues and he's working through that. He has a family of his own, but he feels led to take Benny into the woods for a 3-week kind of very spare cabin in the woods experience where there's no electricity, and he's taken kids there before, and he feels like if he does that, maybe he can reach her, because what she really needs is to kind of have some peace, because we find out early on she had a very traumatic childhood incident, and she can't stand for people to touch her face. And so the kids like to escalate and get a rise out of her by just always harassing her. So not only does she have these anger issues she's working through, but she has all of these people that she views as enemies because they're not letting her be safe. And even though she's this difficult personality, she has so much life and vibrancy. It's almost like, Pippi Longstocking, how she has so much imagination, and to be able to kind of escape in her own stories and take people with her. She has this delightful personality, but so it's about Misha and Benny and how they try to form a bond. And I've seen, childhood trauma, as I said before, is in my wheelhouse, but I wasn't fully prepared for this story emotionally, of how hard it would be to watch this little girl try to go through this the best she can and try to find a safe place.
So what about the movie, other than the story, really stood out to you? The editing, cinematography, sound design, production design, what are other things that worked for you with this film?
There were some really interesting use of colors. Benny has this bright pink coat that's almost like a watermelon pink color. And when she's in the throes of one of her spells, the camera gets makes use of that color. There's kind of this expressionistic style that shows us what she's feeling without telling us through like flashbacks and lights and colors. And we see like her agony and her feelings through the colors and those images. And she kind of reminded me, going back to her character, it was almost like I could see this maybe being like one day she become like Lisbeth Salander because she's so difficult from the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies. And I really liked the way they used sound and when she goes out into the woods, there's these moments when she's listening to her echo and or she's kind of out here in the middle of nowhere and she's getting to use her voice because so often the adults are telling her to quiet down or to calm down. And so like her getting to go out and just kind of release that. There were some very interesting things they did there with that, and some of the soundtrack is really great. I love sort of EDM music and they make good use of that. So that's some of the main things that I liked about the storytelling.
Okay, were there any things that were drawbacks for you that maybe didn't quite click or resonate?
Not at all. I mean, I was 100% for this movie. I think it was, sometimes with these kind of, it's like, what kind of story is this going to be? How am I going to be left at the end? You're sort of wanting a happy ending. But at the same time, it's like, what's more important, that you have the ending you want, or you're telling this authentic story? But I loved it. There wasn't anything that kept me from fully enjoying this movie.
Awesome. So on a grading scale, and we use the report card like an A+ to an F, where do you place this film called System Crasher?
I gave it an A, and I did see on Rotten Tomatoes it has 94% critic positive, so I think that others seem to agree with my rating.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lindsey Dunn. The film is System Crasher, and it is available now. Thomas, you've got a film selection from the Reel to Reel Film Festival that'll be coming up the not too distant future. You're going to be reviewing some of those leading up to it in September. And I think the one you're going to talk about today is called The Thief.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So this is directed by Samantha McLeod. And this was actually a project in like an overseas film studies course in London. And she shot this film in 3 hours, then edited it in 3 hours as well. And it's like a 5-minute short, but there's so much just incredible content packed within this 5 minutes. At first, you think it's going to be kind of a quirky, goofy, almost kind of a dark comedy, but not really that dark. But then it just gets really dark really quickly. And the way that it goes about kind of developing this tone, there's next to no dialogue. There might be like 1 or 2 lines, but it's all just through physical expression and physical acting and facial acting, and only 2 performances. And they were what Samantha was able to accomplish within this constrained runtime and very limited resources was very impressive. You have some homages to Kill Bill, Quentin Tarantino's film. You kind of got a bit of a Hitchcock twist, I guess you could say, there at the end of this short film. And there were some great stories that Samantha was able to share with me in our interview, which you'll be able to find that interview on, well, it's not posted yet, but at some point it will be posted to the Cleveland County Arts Council YouTube page and to Elements of Madness. And just some great stories from throughout the production she was able to share, but a very detail-oriented script, very well directed on a technical and narrative level, and just a great short film all the way around.
And what's your rating for the Reel to Reel Film Fest selection, The Thief?
I'll go ahead and give it a solid A. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. It was a film that I did not exactly know where it was headed, and it is difficult to do storytelling well without dialogue. And this film did it. It was masterful in the way it did it. So really, I appreciated the film, The Thief. as well, an official selection for the 21st Annual Reel to Reel Film Festival. A film I'm going to give you a quick review on is available now, and this film is called The Rental. It is a directorial debut from Dave Franco. You may know him as a brother of James Franco. The film stars Allison Brie, also Dan Stevens. And here's my short take on it. It's Norman Bates meets Bad Times at the El Royale, meets the Talking Heads song Psycho Killer. So those are my thoughts on this film quickly. It had promise. I really think it had incredible potential for me, but it was relatively predictable. I thought that, looking at this voyeuristic suspense thriller experience in the first hour, it was okay. I liked where it was headed, but I've kind of seen it before. But then the third act went way too much into the horror slasher cliche moments for me, the stereotypes that you've seen done a million times. So much, in fact, that I found myself asking, wait a minute, haven't I seen that before? And that. I really there was nothing really new for me in this, except they were trying to do a mashup. I did appreciate the casting choices. I liked the score. The sound design was really strong for me, the editing and the initial concept. But I really think the screenwriter didn't really know how to wrap things up, or maybe the director wasn't sure where to go with this. It did end up going the route of Michael and Jason and Leatherface and Freddie, maybe for some tips. But they were all tips that didn't pay off for me. And so I'm afraid that really can't give a whole lot of high ratings for this. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. Kind of a C rating for me, and some other things that were issues for me. Some of the lighting choices, especially in the dark scenes, were pretty bad. It was really tough to see some of the things that were going on, and maybe on a big screen in a theater, it would have held better. But my question is, somebody asked me, okay, if I'm going to go do it like a Airbnb or one of these things, should I watch The Rental first? And my answer is no, probably not. Don't watch The Rental before you take a vacation if you're going to be taking one, unless you're going to have some insurance coverage. So a C rating is what I'm going to provide for The Rental. And I know that you saw it as well, Lindsey, and do you want to give your rating for it?
I have to concur with your rating. And I really liked the first part of the movie, the build-up. I appreciated some of the shots. There was definitely some kind of homage to Stanley Kubrick that I feel like Franco was really trying to do in there. And, I like the slow burning kind of suspense. I was intrigued and interested in what was happening, but it kind of felt like in the last half they threw everything in the kitchen sink into the movie, and so I agree completely
Awesome.
with what you said.
Okay, well, good deal. A C rating sounds like across the board for the movie The Rental, and you can find that now. We're going to take a quick intermission right here on Meet Me in the Movies. We'll come back with a hot topic, and the hot topic is materials we would love to see adapted into film, or maybe even readapted, depending on which way you want to look at it. Lindsey Dunn, Thomas Manning, I'm Noel Manning. Thanks for watching Meet Me in the Movies. Hang around after this quick intermission. More right here on C19 TV.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey everyone, I'm Tim Wisher, welding instructor at Cleveland Community College, and today I'd like to take a little time and tell you about what we do here. Welders are in demand. We offer a certificate program and we offer a diploma program. It takes about a year to come through our program. We offer morning and evening classes here at CCC. We have the lowest student to instructor ratio in the state. We do real life simulation. We do API 1104 downhill pipe welding. We also do D11 structural steel code and ASME welding as well. We have AWS certified welding inspectors on staff. If you want to learn more about our welding program, you can give me a call directly at 704-669-4077 or on the community college website at clevelandcc.edu.
Hi everyone. At CCC, students are busy registering for the fall semester. We are staying flexible with how we offer classes, in person and online, so we can meet students' needs and interests. Our team can help you enroll, apply for financial aid, register, and get the answers you need. We continue to monitor COVID-related news and do everything we can to safeguard the well-being of our students, employees, and visitors. So come join us, register now, and keep moving forward.
They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me.
Welcome back to Meet Me in the Movies. I am Noel T. Manning II. Thanks for joining us. Joining us on camera right now, we've got Lindsey Dunn. We also have Thomas Manning. Lindsey is one of the newest members of the North Carolina Film Critics Association. So congratulations, Lindsey, on that. And thanks for sharing a little bit about your life and your love of cinema and your review also of System Crasher. And what we'd like to do is when we have special guests or new guests or even returning guests, we like to go into a hot topic when we can. And today we figured the perfect hot topic would be adaptations because of your love of story and the fact that you spend some time in a library occasionally. And we know that you love adaptations. So we'll let you start out, Lindsey, if there's any film that could be, or any book or source that could be adapted to a film, what would be one of those on your list and why? And if you want to offer any thoughts about who might want to direct or be a part of it, go for it.
Well, my first pick for this is a book called Challenger Deep by Neil Shusterman. And interestingly enough, it is already under production, whatever you call it. It's under production for Disney Plus, but there's still a lot of people that haven't been assigned to it. And, you know, who knows when it will actually come up. But it is the story of a young man named Caden Bosch who has schizophrenia, and he has all of these paranoid feelings that people are trying to kill him. At the same time, he intercuts that part of the story with these very imaginative underwater experiences where he is in the deepest part of the ocean in the Mariana Trench, which is known and called Challenger Deep, which is the name. But how do you describe a person who has schizophrenia? And so Neil Shusterman's son actually was diagnosed with this, and the two of them collaborated on the book together. So it has a lot. So it's a mental, story about somebody with a mental health disorder, which I think really will help so much with empathy when you're trying to understand how people, experience these things and what it's like. But because of the elements of it being underwater and kind of this magical realism, I thought about actors like, the big fish would be Guillermo del Toro because of the work he's done in that department, or a newer voice would be Ben Zeitlin, which I think you guys just talked about recently because of Wendy, and Daryl mentioned that one. I thought of Willem Dafoe as the pirate captain, and Charlie Heaton from Stranger Things as Caden, because I feel like he does a really good job at playing somebody with a lot of angst and kind of intense feelings. He has that sort of dark horse thing to him that I think he could pull this off.
All right, Thomas, why don't you dive in and tell us your pick of a remake an adaptation that you would like to see happen?
Yes, so there actually was an adaptation of the book Aragon back in 2006. So the book was originally written by Christopher Paolini. I think that's how you pronounce the name. I could be butchering that, but that's what I'm going with. So there was an adaptation in 2006 directed by Stefan Fangmeyer, who had a pretty extensive background in VFX. He worked on Judgment Day. He worked on Jurassic Park. He's worked with Game of Thrones. But his direction of this film just did not translate well at all. It was very watered down, very cheesy, and it was not taken seriously enough and did not stay true enough to the source material, or didn't. And I mean, you don't have to stay 100% true, but it just did not adapt it well at all. So I think give another attempt at this and give it to Neil Marshall. So Neil Marshall has directed a few episodes of Game of Thrones, a couple of the best battle episodes towards the season finales. Bring him in, since he's familiar with that kind of fantasy, almost medieval type landscape of genre, and cast Timothée Chalamet in the lead role, and also Daisy Ridley as the female protagonist. And I think if you did that, then we might have a $1 billion movie on our hands. So I'll be waiting on the call from Universal or whoever it is after this. So, yeah.
Awesome. Good choice, Thomas. Well, my pick comes from a short story. There's a writer, F. Paul Wilson, I've liked for a long time, and he does a lot of quirky, almost Stephen King-esque type films. And there was a short story called The Years the Music Died. And there was a collection of short stories called Soft. This does have a Twilight Zone-esque feel. It's a story of this group in the 1950s, and they're very wealthy, and they've got a lot of power. And what I mean by political clout, economic clout, cultural, society clout. But they're trying to find ways to kill off rock and roll. And you're led to believe that some of the things that have been happening to some of these people who have died, who are rock and rollers, happened because of this group. And it's just a fascinating story. And I've always thought it would be a really interesting one to see translated into a film. If that happened, I'd like to see Jordan Peele write and direct this particular movie, The Years the Music Died, from F. Paul Wilson. Well, we don't have time to go in deep on any others, but if you just want to mention a name of another film you wouldn't mind seeing, or another book that you wouldn't mind seeing adapted, or a song or something, you can do that. Lindsey, I'll just let you mention it, and if you've got people attached to it, you can do that as well.
My other pick would be Reality Boy by A.S. King. So the director would be Alma Harrell, and the starring role would be Lucas Hedges. Awesome.
Lindsey. All right, Thomas, who else do you have? What else do you have you want to adapt?
All right, so give me an adaptation of Hamlet, but put it in space, directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Florence Pugh, John Boyega, Nicholas Hoult, and Freddie Highmore. So there we go. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, very good. And I will wrap things up with an adaptation of the Dixie Chicks song "Goodbye Earl." It would become a dark comedy starring DiCaprio as Earl and Taylor Swift as Wanda. So that would be my film adaptation for "Goodbye Earl." Lindsey Dunn, our guest right here on Meet Me in the Movies. Thomas Manning back with us. Lindsey, your website again, where people can find you other than Elements of Madness. What's that website?
1ofmystories.com.
Awesome. Lindsey, thanks for joining us. We hope to have you back sometime soon. And the movie quote of the week, we always wrap things up with a movie quote. And this one, I'm cheating a little bit. It's from a film critic. Roger Ebert said, "No good movie is too long, and no bad movie is short enough." So until next time, for Meet Me in the Movies right here on C19.TV, I'm Noel T. Manning II for Lindsey and Thomas, saying that is a wrap.